Hey everyone, today we're diving into a true story that'll leave you speechless. What would you do if your mother-in-law demanded you abort your unborn child to save the family name? Names and details have been changed to protect their privacy. This is my story, and it's one that still shakes me to my core. When my mother-in-law, Patricia, cornered me with her cruel ultimatum, my world crumbled. How could someone so close to us stoop so low? Let's uncover the truth together. I'm Emily, a 29-year-old nurse, married to Tom for 5 years. We live in a small town, the kind where everyone knows your business. Tom's a mechanic, steady and kind. But his mother, Patricia, has always been a thorn in our marriage. She's the type who expects obedience, her word treated like gospel. From the day I met her, I felt her scrutiny like I was an intruder in her perfect family. I tried to win her over, but nothing was ever enough. I thought I could handle her, until she crossed a line that changed everything. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was 3 months pregnant, still glowing from the news of our first child. Tom and I had just picked out a crib, dreaming of our future. I was folding laundry when Patricia called, her voice sharp. "We need to talk. Emily, now." I assumed it was another lecture about my messy house. But when she showed up, her eyes were cold, her words like a blade. "You need to get rid of that baby," she said. "It'll ruin our family's reputation." My heart stopped. My baby. Ruin her. I stood there, frozen, clutching a tiny onesie. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice trembling. Patricia didn't blink. "You know why? This pregnancy is a mistake. It'll bring shame. Shame I was happily married, healthy, and overjoyed about my child." Her words didn't make sense, but they cut deep. Was this about her obsession with control, or something darker I told her to leave? But her demand echoed in my mind. Why would she say something so heartless? What was she hiding as I sat alone, my hand on my belly? I felt a mix of rage and fear. Patricia wasn't just meddling. She was trying to erase my child. I'd spent years tiptoeing around her. But this was war. My baby deserved a mother who'd fight, and I wasn't backing down. But how do you stand up to someone who holds so much power in your family? The truth was out there, and I needed to face it. Could I protect my child without losing everything? What would you do if someone tried to take your future away? I called Tom, my voice shaking as I told him what his mom said. He was quiet. Too quiet. "She wouldn't mean that," he said. But I heard the doubt in his voice. Patricia's grip on him was strong, and I wasn't sure he'd stand with me. As I hung up, I realized this wasn't just about her. It was about our marriage, our future. The fight was just beginning, and I had to be ready for whatever came next. The sting of Patricia's words clung to me like smoke, her demand to abort my baby replaying in my head. I sat in the nursery, surrounded by half-painted walls and unopened baby books, trying to make sense of her cruelty. How had our family come to this to understand her audacity? I had to look back at the tension that had simmered between us since the day I married Tom. Patricia wasn't just difficult, she was a force. And I'd spent years dodging her storms. Tom and I met 6 years ago at a local diner, bonding over burnt coffee and bad jukebox music. He was grounded, with a shy smile that made me feel safe. We were engaged within a year, but meeting Patricia was like walking into a lion's den. "So, You're a nurse, she'd said, her tone laced with judgment. Long hours, I suppose. I nodded, forcing a smile. But her eyes said I'd never measure up. Tom swore she was just set in her ways. But I felt her resentment grow with every milestone we shared. When we married, Patricia's control tightened. She'd call Tom daily, questioning our choices, our apartment, my cooking, even our decision to wait on kids. You need a proper home, she'd say, as if our cozy rental was a slum. I'd grit my teeth, not wanting to seem like the nagging wife. But her jabs piled up. Once, at a family dinner, she said, Emily's too busy for a real family. The table laughed. But I burned inside. Why did I let her get away with it? Have you ever swallowed an insult to keep the peace? Her influence over Tom was the real battleground. Patricia had raised him alone after his dad left, and she wore that sacrifice like a crown. Tom felt indebted, always quick to defend her. When she'd rearrange our furniture during visits or criticize my parenting plans, he'd say, She's just trying to help. I wanted to scream, but I held back, thinking love meant compromise. Looking back, I see how I gave her power, letting her chip away at my confidence. By the time I got pregnant, our relationship was a tightrope. Patricia's excitement seemed forced, her smiles never reaching her eyes. She'd drop hints about proper timing for kids, as if our joy was her decision. I brushed it off, caught up in the thrill of becoming a mom. But her demand to abort revealed a truth I'd ignored. Patricia didn't just dislike me, she wanted to control our family's future. Was this about her precious reputation? Or something deeper? As I sat in the nursery, my hand resting on my belly, I thought about Tom. His silence on the phone worried me. Patricia's hold on him was strong, and I wasn't sure he'd see her for what she was. Could I fight her alone? The baby kicked, a tiny reminder of what was at stake. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about my child, my family. But confronting Patricia meant risking Tom's loyalty and our place in his family. What would you do if you had to choose between your baby and your marriage? I decided to dig deeper. Patricia's talk of shame didn't add up. Our town wasn't that judgmental. And Tom and I were stable. Was she hiding something I called my best friend Lisa, who'd known Tom's family for years? Patricia's always been obsessed with appearances, Lisa said. But it's extreme? Her words sparked a question. What was Patricia so afraid of? The truth was out there, and I was determined to find it. No matter how ugly it got, the nursery was my sanctuary. Its soft yellow walls a promise of the future I dreamed of. I'd spent weeks picking out the perfect shade, imagining my baby's laughter filling the room. At 3 months pregnant, I was still riding the high of our ultrasound, where Tom and I saw our little bean's heartbeat flicker on the screen. We'd cried, laughed, and started naming Ellie for a girl, Noah for a boy. But Patricia's demand to abort my baby shattered that joy, turning my safe haven into a battleground. How could she think my child was a threat? Those early pregnancy days were magic. I'd wake up smiling, my hand on my belly, feeling the flutter of life. Tom was over the moon, bringing home tiny socks and joking about teaching our kid to fix cars. We told our families at a small dinner, expecting cheers. My parents were thrilled, already knitting blankets. Patricia, though she forced a smile, saying, That's sudden. Her tone was a warning. But I was too happy to care. I thought she'd come around. Why didn't I see the storm brewing? Have you ever ignored a red flag because you wanted to believe the best? We threw ourselves into planning. Tom painted the nursery while I scoured thrift stores for baby books. At night, we'd lie in bed, dreaming about our child's future first steps. School plays, family camping trips. I felt invincible, like nothing could touch us. Even Patricia's usual jabs her comments about my hectic job or small house bounced off me. I was building a family, and her negativity couldn't reach me. Or so I thought. Then came the call that changed everything. A week before Patricia's visit, I'd been at my checkup, beaming as the doctor confirmed our baby was healthy. I texted Tom a sonogram picture, and he replied with a heart emoji. Life was perfect. So when Patricia showed up, her face tight with purpose, I wasn't ready for her words. Get rid of it, she'd said, her voice like ice. This baby will ruin us. Ruin us. The accusation hit like a slap. My pregnancy was a blessing, not a scandal. What was she talking about? I started questioning everything. Patricia's obsession with reputation felt off. Our town was close-knit. Sure, but no one cared if a married couple had a baby. Was she projecting her own fears, or was there a secret she was guarding? I remembered a story Lisa told me about Patricia's youth rumors of a scandal she'd buried. Could that be driving her now? The thought sent a chill through me. What would you do if you suspected your mother-in-law was hiding a dark past? I tried talking to Tom again, hoping he'd shed light. Your mom said the baby would bring shame, I said, watching his face. He frowned, confused. That's crazy. We're married, stable. What's her deal? His confusion was real, but so was his hesitation. Patricia's influence ran deep, and I could feel him pulling back, unsure how to challenge her. I needed him on my side, but I wasn't sure he was ready to fight. My baby's future was at stake, and I couldn't wait for him to catch up. As I sat in the nursery, clutching a tiny pair of socks, I felt a fire ignite. Patricia's demand wasn't just an insult. It was an attack on my child, my family. I wasn't going to let her win. But how do you fight someone who spent years building power over your husband? The truth was out there, and I had to find it before she did more damage. My baby deserved a mother who'd stand tall, no matter the cost. Patricia's demand to abort my baby left me reeling, her words like a poison seeping into my joy. I stood in the nursery, my hand on my belly, feeling the faint flutter of life I'd vowed to protect. She'd stormed out after her ultimatum, leaving me with a mix of shock and fury. How dare she? This wasn't just about control, it was personal. And I needed to know why she saw my child as a threat. I wasn't going to let her words fester in silence. It was time to face her. I called Patricia the next morning, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. We need to talk about what you said, I told her. She sighed, as if I was the inconvenience. Fine. Emily, I'll come over. When she arrived, her posture was rigid, her eyes cold. I didn't waste time. Why do you want me to abort my baby? I asked, my tone firm. What's this about family reputation? She crossed her arms, her lips a thin line. You wouldn't understand, she said. This family has a name to uphold. I stared at her, incredulous. We're a normal couple. Patricia. There's no scandal here. What are you afraid of? Her eyes flickered, just for a second. But it was enough to confirm my suspicions. She was hiding something. You're young, she snapped. You don't know what's at stake. I stepped closer, refusing to back down. Then, tell me. Because I'm not ending my pregnancy for your vague excuses. Her silence was deafening, her jaw tight. Have you ever faced someone who'd rather lie than face the truth? She shifted tactics, her voice softening, but laced with venom. Think about Tom, she said. A baby now will drag him down. You're being selfish. Selfish? I was carrying his child, our future. Her manipulation was so blatant, it almost made me laugh. This isn't about Tom, I said. It's about you. What's the real reason for a moment? I thought she'd crack. But she stood, grabbing her purse. You'll regret this, she said, and left. Her threat hung in the air, chilling me. I called Lisa, needing to vent. She's unhinged, I said, recounting the confrontation. Lisa paused, then said, You know about her sister? Right. I froze. Patricia's sister Lisa explained years ago. Patricia's younger sister had a child out of wedlock, and the family shunned her. Patricia had been obsessed with respectability ever since. She's probably scared your baby will stir up old gossip, Lisa said. My mind raced. Was Patricia projecting her family's past onto me? Why would my child trigger that? I dug deeper, calling Tom's cousin, Rachel, who'd grown up with Patricia's stories. Yeah, Aunt Patricia's always been paranoid about the family name. Rachel confirmed. She thinks any misstep, like a badly timed baby, could ruin her status in our small town, where no one cared. It sounded absurd, but it fit. Patricia's demand wasn't about us. It was about her fear of shame, rooted in a decades-old scandal. But why take it out on my baby? As I processed this, Tom came home, his face weary. I told him about Patricia's visit, her refusal to explain. She's out of line, he said. But his voice lacked conviction. I could see the tug of war in his eyes, loyalty to his mom versus love for me. We need to stand together, I said, my hand on his. He nodded. But I felt the distance. Could I trust him to fight with me? What would you do if your partner's silence felt like betrayal? Patricia's words were a gauntlet, and I wasn't backing down. But her threat? You'll regret this echoed. A warning of worse to come. I had to protect my baby. But at what cost? The truth was unraveling, and it was uglier than I'd imagined. I braced myself for the next battle, knowing this was only the beginning. Patricia's threat lingered like a storm cloud. Her words, You'll regret this, a chilling promise of more to come. I stood in the nursery, my hand cradling my belly, feeling my baby's faint kicks. Her demand to abort was an attack on my child, my future. And I wasn't going to let her fear-driven obsession win. I'd faced her once and seen her falter. Now, I needed to stand firm, no matter how hard she pushed. But with Tom wavering, I felt the weight of fighting alone. Could I protect my baby without losing my marriage? I decided to confront Patricia again, this time with no room for her deflections. I drove to her house, my heart pounding, but my resolve ironclad. She opened the door, her face a mask of irritation. What now, Emily? She snapped. I didn't flinch. I'm not aborting my baby, I said, my voice steady. And I know why you're doing this. It's about your sister's scandal, isn't it? You're scared my child will bring up old shame. Her eyes widened, just for a second, before narrowing. You have no idea what you're talking about, she said. But her voice shook. I'd hit a nerve. I pressed on. This isn't the 1950s. Patricia, my baby isn't a scandal. Your fear doesn't get to control us. She laughed, a brittle sound. You think you're so righteous, she said. But you're ruining Tom's future. He'll resent you for this. Her words stung, targeting my deepest fear that Tom might choose her side. But I saw through her tactic manipulation, not truth. Tom wants this baby. I said, you're the one tearing us apart. She slammed the door. But I'd made my stand. Have you ever had to face someone's lies head on, knowing they'd fight dirty, driving home? I felt a mix of triumph and dread. I'd called out Patricia's past, but her threat still loomed. I called Lisa for advice. She's cornered. Lisa said, be careful, she might escalate. Escalate how spread lies. Turn the family against me. I needed Tom's support. But when I told him about the confrontation, he looked torn. You went to her house, he asked, frowning. Hem? You're poking a bear. I stared at him, hurt. She wants our baby gone. Tom, I'm fighting for us. He sighed, rubbing his face. I know, but she's my mom. His hesitation cut deep. I needed him to stand with me, not straddle the fence. What if she keeps pushing? I asked. Will you let her control our family? He didn't answer. His silence a wedge between us. That night, I lay awake, my hand on my belly, whispering to my baby, I'll protect you. I promised. But doubt crept in. Could I do this without Tom's full support? What would you do if your partner's loyalty was split? I started researching Patricia's past, hoping for answers. Rachel sent me old family letters mentioning her sister's disgrace, a baby born out of wedlock, hushed up by the family. Patricia had been tasked with keeping it secret, and it shaped her obsession with reputation. My pregnancy, perfectly normal, was a trigger for her buried shame. Understanding her didn't soften my anger. It fueled it. She was punishing my child for her own ghosts. I decided to set boundaries. I told Tom we needed space from Patricia until she backed off. No visits, no calls. I said. He nodded, but his eyes were distant. I could feel the fracture growing. But my baby came first. Patricia's next move was coming. I felt it. Could I stay strong if she turned our world upside down? The fight was far from over, and I braced for the fallout, knowing my child's future depended on my courage. Patricia's slammed door still echoed in my mind, her threat a shadow I couldn't shake. I'd stood up to her, called out her fear of old scandals, but the victory felt hollow. Tom's hesitation was a growing crack in our marriage, his loyalty torn between me and his mother. I sat in the nursery, my hand on my belly, feeling my baby's gentle kicks. This child was my strength, but the fight was draining me, and I needed Tom to choose us. Could I hold our family together when his heart was divided? I sat Tom down that night, the kitchen quiet except for the hum of the fridge. We need to talk about your mom, I said, my voice steady, but my chest tight. She's trying to control our future, and I can't do this alone. He looked at me, his eyes weary. I know she's wrong. But she's my mom. She's not some monster. I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to snap. She told me to abort our baby. Tom, that's not love. It's cruelty. He flinched, like the words physically hit him. Have you ever had to make someone see a truth they're desperate to deny? I told him about Patricia's past, her sister's scandal, her obsession with reputation. She's not protecting you. I said, she's protecting her pride. And she's hurting us to do it. Tom ran a hand through his hair, his jaw tight. I get it. But cutting her off, that's hard. His honesty stung. But it was progress. He was listening, even if he wasn't ready to act. I need you to stand with me, I said. For our baby? He nodded. But his silence spoke louder than words. I felt the weight of his struggle. And it scared me. The next day, Patricia called Tom. I overheard him from the living room. His voice low, but firm. Mom, you can't keep doing this. Emily's my wife, and this is our baby. My heart lifted. But then I heard her response sharp, manipulative. You're throwing me away for her, she said. Tom hung up, his face pale. She's not stopping, he said, sitting beside me. She thinks you're turning me against her. I took his hand. She's turning you against yourself, Tom. We're a family now. Could he see that? Or was her pull too strong? Tom's stand was a step. But Patricia didn't back down. She started texting family his aunts, cousins claiming I was unstable and forcing Tom to abandon her. Rachel called to warn me. She's spinning a story, she said. Says your pregnancy's a mistake and you're manipulative. My blood boiled. Patricia wasn't just fighting me, she was waging a smear campaign, trying to isolate us. I pictured her at family gatherings, whispering lies, turning allies into enemies. What would you do if someone tried to rewrite your truth? I urged Tom to set clearer boundaries. We need to limit contact, I said. She's poisoning our family. He agreed, but his eyes were heavy with guilt. We drafted a message to Patricia, no communication, until she respected our decision. Sending it felt like locking a gate. But I knew she'd try to break through. My pregnancy was progressing 4 months now. My belly rounding, but the joy was tainted by fear. Could Tom stay strong if Patricia escalated? The truth was clear. But the cost was tearing us apart. And I braced for the next blow. As I lay awake, my baby's kicks grounding me. I realized this fight was bigger than Patricia. It was about my right to be a mother, to build a family free from her control. But with Tom's loyalty wavering, I felt the ground shifting beneath me. Could we survive her wrath? Or would she break us before our baby was even born? Patricia's smear campaign hit like a tidal wave, her lies spreading through Tom's family like wildfire. I felt the walls closing in. My pregnancy now, at 5 months, overshadowed by her relentless attacks. Tom's decision to limit contact had slowed her direct assaults. But she'd found a new battlefield, our extended family. Cousins stopped texting. Aunts gave us cold shoulders at the grocery store. My baby's kicks were my anchor. But the isolation stung. Could we hold on when Patricia was turning our world against us? Rachel called one evening, her voice tense. Patricia's telling everyone you're unstable. She said. She says the baby's a mistake, and you're manipulating Tom. I gripped the phone. Fury rising, manipulating. She was the one twisting the truth, painting me as the villain to protect her precious reputation. She's scared. Rachel added, your pregnancy's stirring up her old demons? I understood her fear. Her sister's scandal had scarred her, but it didn't justify her cruelty. My child wasn't a pawn in her game. Have you ever been blamed for someone else's ghosts? I showed Tom the messages Rachel forwarded, family group chats, where Patricia called me selfish and unfit. His face darkened, a mix of anger and shame. This is too far, he said, tossing his phone down. For the first time, I saw real resolve in him. We need to shut this down, he said. We wrote a group email to the family, calm but firm, explaining Patricia's demand and our need for space. We're protecting our child. We wrote, "We hope you'll respect that." Sending it felt like drawing a line, but I knew not everyone would cross to our side. The fallout was swift. Some relatives replied with support, others stayed silent, and a few echoed Patricia's narrative, accusing us of overreacting. One aunt called Tom, pleading, "Don't cut your mom out, she's hurting." Tom hung up, his hands shaking. "I hate this," he said, his voice breaking. I hugged him, my heart aching. "We're doing this for our baby?" I said. But the strain was wearing him down, and I felt it in every quiet moment. Could our marriage survive this fracture? I focused on shielding my pregnancy from the chaos. At my latest checkup, the doctor smiled as we heard the heartbeat, strong, steady. "You're doing great," she said. I clung to that. But Patricia's shadow loomed. She sent Tom a letter, claiming she was devastated by our cruelty. No apology, just more guilt. I wanted to burn it, but Tom read it, his face unreadable. "She's not changing," he said finally. "We're done." His words were a relief, but they came with a cost. His grief was palpable, and I couldn't fix it. What would you do if protecting your family meant breaking someone you love? We started therapy to navigate the tension. The therapist helped Tom process his guilt, but progress was slow. Meanwhile, I leaned on Lisa and my parents, who threw a small baby shower to lift my spirits. Seeing the tiny clothes and diapers reminded me what I was fighting for. But at night, I'd lie awake, wondering if Patricia would escalate further. Would she spread more lies, show up unannounced? My belly grew. But so did my fear of her next move. The family divide deepened, holidays loomed, and we faced the reality of skipping gatherings to avoid Patricia. Our world felt smaller, but I held on to my baby's kicks. Each one a reminder of why I fought. Patricia's demand had exposed her control, and we were breaking free. But the cost was heavy. Could we rebuild without her shadow? The truth had set us on this path. But the scars were deep, and I braced for what lay ahead. The family rift left our home quieter, but the silence carried a weight I hadn't expected. At 6 months pregnant, my belly was round, my baby's kick stronger. Yet the joy was tempered by the battle with Patricia. Tom's decision to cut contact had drawn a line, but his grief over losing his mom cast a shadow. I poured my energy into preparing for our child, folding onesies, assembling the crib, but Patricia's demand to abort still haunted me. Could we heal from her cruelty? Or had she broken us too deeply? Therapy became our anchor. Tom opened up about his guilt, admitting he'd always felt responsible for his mom's happiness. She leaned on me after Dad left. He said, his voice heavy, "I thought I could keep everyone happy." I took his hand, my heart aching. "You're not her keeper, Tom. Our baby needs us now." The therapist nodded, guiding us toward boundaries that protected our family. It wasn't easy. Tom's pain was raw, but he was trying. And that gave me hope. Have you ever had to rebuild trust when someone's loyalty was split? I focused on our baby, naming her Ellie after countless late-night talks. At my checkups, her heartbeat was a steady rhythm, grounding me. Lisa and my parents rallied around us, filling our nursery with love blankets, toys, a rocking chair. But Patricia's absence was loud. Rachel called with updates. Patricia was spreading sob stories, claiming we'd abandoned her. No mention of her demand. Just victimhood. I wanted to scream, but I channeled my anger into protecting Ellie. She doesn't get to touch you, I whispered to my belly. One day, Patricia sent an email, her tone softer, but still manipulative. I only wanted what's best. She wrote, "I'm sorry you misunderstood. No real apology, just more deflections." Tom read it, his jaw tight. "She'll never own it," he said, deleting it. His resolve strengthened me, but I saw the toll it took. We agreed no contact unless she sought help. It meant missing family events. But Ellie's safety came first. Our world shrank, but it felt purer, free from Patricia's control. As my due date neared, I reflected on the fight. Patricia's demand wasn't just about her sister's scandal. It was about power. She'd tried to erase my child to keep her grip on Tom. But I'd fought back, claiming my place as a mother. The cost was high, family ties severed. Tom's heart bruised, but Ellie was worth it. What would you do if you had to lose family to protect your own? For me, the answer was clear. My daughter was my strength, and I'd never let anyone threaten her again. Tom and I grew closer, rebuilding through small moments, painting the nursery, laughing over baby names. The scars remained, but we were learning to live with them. Patricia's shadow faded, her lies no longer defining us. I stood in the nursery, ready for Ellie, knowing I'd faced a dragon and won. The truth had nearly broken us, but it also set us free. Could we keep that freedom? Only time would tell. But I was ready to fight for my family, no matter what. Summary: 200 words. When my mother-in-law, Patricia, demanded I abort my baby to save the family reputation, Emily faced a nightmare. Her cruel ultimatum, rooted in her fear of an old family scandal, threatened my unborn daughter, Ellie, and our marriage. Patricia's obsession with control, fueled by her sister's past, pushed me to confront her, exposing her manipulative lies. Tom, torn between his mom and me, struggled to choose. But a smear campaign against us forced him to see her toxicity. We cut contact, setting boundaries to protect Ellie. But the cost was steep. Family ties fractured, and Tom's grief lingered. Therapy and love for our baby helped us rebuild. Though scars remained, Patricia's demand revealed her need for power. But I stood firm, reclaiming my role as a mother. This story is a testament to fighting for what matters, even when it hurts. Have you faced a toxic family member? Share below, like, comment, and subscribe for more real stories of courage and conflict. Let's keep this conversation going. How would you handle a mother-in-law like Patricia?